Hello, it's Julie Desjardins here in my living room, and today is day 34, the power to succeed. Childlike Muse. Childlike Muse. Napoleon Hill, who studied several thousand to understand who gains success and who stops at failure in their lives. And one of the reasons for failure had to do with people's childhood. And significantly so, and you probably see it as very obvious, if a child grows up in an environment that is very unhealthy, unfavorable to them, and the more susceptible they are to becoming and having a criminal life later on. And so, of course, this doesn't stop people from having success necessarily, but I want us to acknowledge the child in each of us and how we were raised and whether we were raised in a safe place, and to be grateful for all the goodness we did experience. And if we had a traumatizing childhood, that's really intense, because most of us probably didn't experience extreme trauma in our childhood. Or some of us may have experienced poverty and physical lack or need. Some of us may have experienced emotional lack and loneliness. But our birthing year, like when we're first born, throughout our childhood, when we're toddlers, as we're developing, as we're growing up, what environment did we have? On a scale of 1 to 10, how safe did you feel? How loved did you feel? How much time did you feel alone? Or did you feel like you had others present with you and gained the attention you needed? Overall, was it a positive environment for you? Could have it had improvements? Sure, probably. Most of us could probably say there were times, areas that could have improved. But overall, take a look at the good and be thankful for it. And recognize that children's developing years are so important. And each of us in the community, within our families, each of us have influence on babies and children's lives and adolescents' lives. Take a look at your adolescent years. Maybe things shifted from your childhood to adolescent years, but these are still developing years, and acknowledge the good and notice what may not have been a positive influence in your adolescent years. These are still considered childhood. And I want us to acknowledge children as well as the inner child in ourselves and the inner child in others. The more we nurture the inner child in ourselves and educate and guide it and strengthen it, the more we strengthen our brain and our power of success. Because a child who is well nurtured knows their dream and does their dream, and is able to take their imagination, break through their fear and doubt, and believe in themselves to create their dream. And maybe you can picture those moments in your childhood or in your adolescence where you did feel that. But somewhere in there, our hearts can get broken. Our minds can be influenced by wrong guidance, by wrong education, and we need to repair that. Maybe we still have bits and pieces that need repair. And every time we go to actually send compassion and support to a parent, to a child, to a teenager, to a baby, every time we do that, we help them with our compassion, and perhaps we have some sort of influence or education to share with them. Some sort of support, sign of love, sign of acknowledgement. Now, you don't necessarily need to intervene to take the child away, but you can offer the doorway if that parent sees that they can't be a good parent. But some people struggle with being a parent. That's when you could bridge the doorway. But even in the poorest of situations, removing the child isn't necessarily the answer. Because the bond between a parent and a child is very precious and must receive all the support it can get. And I think if we don't turn our back on children, then and actually notice, oh, there's a child. Oh, it's my child. Notice the child. But notice other people's children. And I don't mean, don't creep people out, of course. But I mean, be present. Be present. Children deserve your acknowledgement. Maybe just for that one moment, your smile will encourage them in their life, in their dream. We have influence, and these children around us need to be acknowledged. And when we're teaching each other, let's say I were to teach an adult or a child, but when we're giving this influence and we're educating and we're coaching and we're teaching, we're speaking not only to the adult, we're speaking to their inner child. And there may have been fragments that occurred in their childhood, in their upbringing, or lack of education, or wrong influence, or negative influence that they need healing with. And you got to be aware that you got to speak to their inner child, not speaking down to them. And that's how we can learn when we speak to children, is that we're not speaking down to them, we're speaking with them. We're connecting and engaging with them and acknowledging their intelligence, because children are intelligent from the time they're born. And they have a dream, they have a destiny that we can nurture. So Childlike Muse, the inspiration, is the child who is powerful from the start. Do you remember in the never-ending story, the childlike empress, and how when Sebastian, he's reading this book with his grandfather, and then he goes off to read it on his own because he just needs to read it. He's reading it, and all of a sudden the book is talking to him. That childlike empress is talking to him. So she was full of power, and she was saying, Bastian, why don't you do what is your dream? I have to keep my feet on the ground, he said. I can't do my dream. And Atreyu, if you can remember, represented Bastian's super self. He was in the book. And both Atreyu, the super self, who is a child, and the childlike empress were turning to that human child, Bastian, saying, save us. We are your fantasy. We are your fantasia, and we need you to believe in us and do what you dream. Childlike muse, childlike inspiration. When we're born with a dream and a desire and a destiny to fulfill. And we can always tap into what that is. And we can do what we dream. And nurturing and nourishing that inner child in ourselves, and the way we learn from others positively, we're nurturing that inner child, and we're nurturing that inner dream. We can do our best with rough situations. And if we see a way to help others, to help babies, to help children, to help teenagers, to help the inner child in adults, let's intervene in a way that is compassionate and supportive and a positive, playful, creative way. Let us give an atmosphere that is truly safe and healing. This is Julie Desjardins, coming from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and I'm happy to share with you my life story, my inspiration, and my dream. You have the power to succeed. Your inner child is deeply, truly, fully, and honestly worth caring for and influencing the world with positivity. Good night.